Hey there, listeners. You're listening to WRCT Pittsburgh with me, DJ Oh Boy, for this hour of Toontown. For this hour of Toontown, we'll be having a interview with the art pop electronic musician Museo. Throughout the show, I'll be featuring a select few picks of Museo's music, including the premiere of Museo's new single, In the Sun, at the end of the hour, so that we have some very exciting things to look forward to in this show. But before we jump into that, a quick message from Attic Records. Attic Records joins you in supporting WRCT. Attic Records, located in Millvale, is open 7 days a week, providing new and used records and CDs. From metal to reggae, hip-hop to doo-wop, and all stops in between. Attic Records has the hottest new releases and all the music you want. Family owned and operated, Attic Records pays for quality used records and CDs, with no collection too big or too small. You can visit Attic Records today or call them at 412-821-8484. That's 412-821-8484. And get the music you need. And now, back to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, Mateo. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really great.
Yeah, so I think you're new. This is your first album, so yeah. I think it would be really great to start off with just who are you, what is your sound, and kind of just a bit about who you are as a musician.
Okay. Well, my name is Mateo Herrera, but I use the name Museio for when I'm making music. My music is all kind of like experimental art, pop, electronic music. Yeah, I like to use a lot of distorted, some industrial sounds mixed with like arps, and then I don't know, some beats. And I do sing in some of my music. I am like trying to sing more. All the vocals are pretty distorted. It's hard to choose like one genre because I like using so many different elements of sound, in my music.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I wanted to not put you on the spot, but I did kind of want to let you take the reins defining the sound, because I was like, I could take a stab at this, but I don't necessarily want to be like, this is who
I know I listed a lot, so you can probably just pick one.
No, but it's good because I think you encapsulated the sound really well, because when I was listening to it and I was listening to it the way through, like I'd have a couple of songs and I would think, oh, this is the genre, but then it kind of bleeds and it kind of flows into all of the things and touches on all the things that you're talking about. So I definitely got that from listening to the album.
Cool.
Yeah. And I was interested, you talked about the vocals compared to the beats and such, and I was wondering, listening to it, when making it, are you driven more by the beats, or are you driven more by the vocals? Like, do you consider yourself more, I don't know, I guess,
some songs start differently. So for example, like the song The Waters, that started with me singing, and then other songs the beat really takes precedence, like that's what I care about the most, and then lyrics come second, and I'll just, with whatever the mood is, that will inform what the lyrics will be. So it really depends. It changes a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, before we talk about that more, because I do have some questions, I think a good clarifying question would be how you initially started getting into music. Has this been a thing that you've wanted to do for a really long time? Or is it more just like a last minute, or I'm going to try this and just see how it goes type of thing?
Well, I don't know who isn't inspired by music. Forever, I've been like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be a musician, to like go on tour? But when I started experimenting with GarageBand, I wasn't thinking about being famous or anything. I was just like trying to make sounds that I thought were cool, and I found out that it was really fun, and I was getting, better at it. initially I wasn't putting songs together. It was just like, oh, here's a little sample of something that I like, and then I just like start with a new one. But it wasn't until I think last year that I really thought like, oh, I should try and make a project out of this, and I should take all these little clips and try to make it into a song. And then I started putting words to it, and I realized how effective it was in expressing how I feel. Yeah, with certain things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, it's not an ideal topic for me, but I feel like in this conversation, it's inevitable, talking about having it be more realized last year and having it be a way to express emotions. Would you say that like a driving factor, or maybe just a factor in sitting down and actually making music would be the pandemic? Did it affect
the magic
things
word?
in any way? Oh yeah,
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, the ominous one I didn't want to bring up, but I feel like I kind of gotta.
I think the only thing I can owe to it was the amount of time it gave me to sit down and do it. But a lot of the pieces were already made. It just gave me the time to sit down and finish them. Like last year I had a bunch of samples of songs that I was ready to spend more time on. And then the pandemic just, gave me the space to do it. But I can happily say that none of the songs are based on the pandemic.
That's cool. That's really interesting, because I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that you for, I guess, clarifying for people that don't know,
Sure.
Mateo and I have known each other for a bit of time. We went to school together, and when I first saw you post it on Instagram, I was like, oh, that's cool. You're starting to like delve into a hobby during the pandemic, as many of us do. But that's really cool to know that like they were there before this. So I don't know if you would, but I have a question then based on that. Like, did you imagine before the pandemic, when you're making these, like having them be used for something else or in a different form, like performing them live or putting them into a performance, or I don't know, something like, did you imagine that?
I think every time I make a song, I'm thinking about how it would be performed, or like what. It's so funny. I'm also, I dabble in the art of fashion design, and so I think about like, oh, what outfit would I wear with this? Like what could I make to help bring this vision to life, And so I made like a small clip of me singing and wearing a piece that I made, and that's just an example of how much of a multimedia project Museio actually is, because it's just really allowed me to express myself in more ways than one. And so when I started making these songs, I was thinking about like what a stage performance would look like. Yeah.
That's super interesting. And it's funny, I was thinking that also because I've seen the other work that you've done, and I was really curious if those things, you view them as kind of symbiotic and as working together, or if you view the mediums that you work in as disjoint. Because I know that you don't only dabble in fashion design, but you do other things too, like I've seen your drawings and other things like that. I
love to mix stuff all together. Like I don't think I could keep anything separate, because it all lives in my head. They have to share the same building, so they're neighbors. They're all bound to meet each other at some point. Yeah, so they're all gonna mix.
You are currently listening to Classic Strife by Museo. If you like what you've heard in the show so far, or you want something completely different, that's great news for you, because we have lots of other shows here on WRCT Pittsburgh, such as Some Poems. There is a young man named Scott who loves to read poems a lot, so he started a show called Some Poems, where he'll give it his best shot. Come listen to Scott work on his dramatic poetry voice at 4:30 p.m. on Sundays or 9 a.m. on Fridays, each week, on WRCT. We also have Unfortunately Not a Podcast. Why listen to four random dudes talk for an hour when you could listen to some good old-fashioned music instead? Tune into Unfortunately Not a Podcast with Constanza Ultra and get your sonic fix. You'll hear some songs, and hopefully you'll prefer them to a mildly interesting conversation. Mondays, 8 to 9 p.m., only on WRCT. And now, back to the show. This is your first album, so do you feel like you grew and you learned a lot in this process? And if so, what did you learn?
I've definitely taught myself a lot in the music making process. Like, I have no formal training at all, so this has been a real learning experience as far as how to put together a song and what I like to make, what I like to listen to. And when you're making each individual song, it's like, oh, okay, I want to make this. But when you can look at the whole project as a whole, you're like, that's who I am. That's what I make. So yeah, I think I learned that about myself. Like what my musical fingerprint looks like. I didn't know that before.
Totally. I love that as a description of like a debut album, because that's kind of what it feels like. It feels really personal when you're listening to it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going on some journey, but I don't necessarily know how it relates to you. So then I kind of put it back to me. So I definitely, I'm getting all these things that you're talking about.
And that's the thing, like without an audience to start off with, it's completely you. And then the people who listen to it, they'll fill in the blanks. They'll decide if they like it. They'll decide how they relate to it. But otherwise, it's just you.
Yeah.
And I have my own story with each song. I have my own story looking at the whole album together. I know what everything means, but it could be something totally different in someone else's mind. And that's very interesting. I wonder how people interpret it, because I see my own like, oh, it's my own plot line. But everyone else can be like, oh, it's just a collection of noise. It's great.
Yeah. I know that some artists like to keep that personal and to themselves. Is there anything that you would like to give us insight on about that arc, or do you want to keep it all kind of?
I think I'd like to, only because I wonder what other people mean about their music, and then they say, no, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, no.
As much as I love surprises and I love secrets, if people are curious, they can listen. Okay, so it starts with intro, right? And that was just supposed to be a very like nebulous, spacey. It's sort of the inception of the Museo project, It's the start of everything, so it's supposed to be really abstract sounding, like life is just beginning in the universe. And then it's like a little preview of what you'll hear. There are these ambient sounds, and then suddenly some beats, and it comes out of nowhere, and then a crash and a bang. And that's because I really, like I said before, I really like surprises, and I don't want people to know what's going to come next. And that's really what was highlighted through this album. It was all supposed to be surprises and experiments of what I can do with sound. So that's the intro. Classic Strife is the second track, and that is just about not fitting in. That is the most classic Strife anyone could ever have. It's like, I don't fit in. No one gets me. And it was just a little homage to electronic music, which I really love, and that's why there's the repetitive electronic sound that goes on through the whole time. And that's just something that I could, quote unquote, throw my body to in my room, like just go crazy. Because these songs were the soundtrack to how I was feeling, the soundtrack to my life when I was just so frustrated with whatever. I wanted something I could throw my body to. So I made the song. After that is The Destroy. You'll notice like the first half of the album is all very high energy, and then the last half is calmer, So these first few songs are very punchy, very aggressive is how I would describe it. And The Destroy is just like all these crashing sounds, and it ends with something lighter. It's sort of like a snapshot of the whole album, just like hard at first and then very soft at the end. And then Isthmus is more like a prayer, more like hope. Just wanting to connect to something else. After that is Older Than Dirt, which is how my mother once described me. She's like, Teo, I swear your soul is older than dirt. Because I'm just like, personally, I'm very interested in history and mythology and stuff like that. So I admire the old world a lot. So I made a song with all of these primal drums, some chanting and bells, and that's the last aggressive hoorah before Act 2, the second half. Then it's Melpomene, which is the Greek muse of tragedy, and that song is like, oh, it's my sad song. It's my tragic song. It's just like wailing. I think it's like one of the most beautiful ones, but it's all like wailing and longing and yearning. And then after that is I Lose. They're so melodramatic. After that is I Lose, and oh boy, that is an example of one of the songs where I didn't know what I was writing until months later, after it happened to me, that was about not dating anyone. And then okay, I had, guys, are you listening? I had a Tinder for like 2 weeks, okay, because I had sworn that I would never ever try online dating. I'm a classical romantic at heart. I swore that I would never do online dating, and then I'm like, okay, nothing is happening. I'm home. I might as well just like see. I might as well see. I'm not going to go on a date. Let's just see where I fit in the modern world. And so I did it, and it was not for me. Like, that was nope. And so I figured, like, if I tried, I'd lose. If I didn't try, I'd lose. So you know what? I lose. And and if you listen to the lyrics, you'll hear me explain like I want to do it, but I don't want to do it, and I end up doing it. I have nothing to lose because I already lost. And then in the middle of the song, there's like a gunshot, and that's the death of the romantic in me. It's so sad. And then there's like this string orchestra that comes in.
That's amazing. I need to listen to that one again because that's extremely relatable.
It's one of the shortest songs, but it tells the most drawn out story.
Yeah, no, I remember it too, and feeling and being like, whoa. And I'm feeling like, oh, there's a story with characters here, but this puts that into perspective. That makes it a lot more enjoyable for me. Oh, that's great.
So then it's The Waters, which is one of the first songs I made. That one I wrote in like 10 minutes. It came so easily. It's one of my favorites. And I really like the ones that come really fast like that. you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew what I wanted to say. And those lyrics are some of the best ones I've written, because I think showering is such a cathartic experience, you know, because you
Mm-hmm.
can just like shed everything that you collected during the day, every bad thought, every bad face you made, just everything can come off. And I think they're also some of the smartest lyrics that I made, because it's like, and I know that it's gonna make me dry, but I hope that it's worth the try, you know. I'm proud of that one. After that, it's I Am Your Love, which is that's it. I think that's one of the only things I say in the song. It's just convincing someone that like, hey, I'm your love. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is A New Beginning. I wanted to end with a very optimistic, um, like on a high note, because I am as melodramatic as I can be, as moody as I can be. I am an optimist, and so I always want some hope to be left at the end. And so this one is just saying like, it's okay. It's a new beginning. You've gone through your aggressive, sad stage, and now here's a little hope for the future. So that's that album is my day in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah.
that it's a beautiful ending sentiment, and also just that's a beautiful arc, and I think really relatable to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Not to bring it back to the pandemic, but
Yeah. Hey.
hey. But yeah, no, that's beautiful. Just in all of it, and Classic Strife, I definitely is. If you need the validation, is the
Go
one that
on.
I do is the one I
Yeah.
do dance to. I do love that one.
Oh, thanks.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I didn't even talk about the title.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the the title of the album is "Pearls Are the Last Things Found," and that is a lyric from a song that I never finished, that I wrote a long time ago, and it just refers to like these blissfully naive, innocent people who might feel left out from the rest of society or their friends, you know. But I'm encouraging you to hold out, because it'll pay off in the end. Like, don't feel like you're missing out on anything just because you're not getting as many dates as everyone else. That doesn't mean you're gonna never find your true love, or you won't end up with someone who really appreciates you, because pearls are hard to find, you know.
You're gonna make me cry. That's that's
So,
that's lovely.
oh, thank you. So like, that's just saying, this is me, this is my album. I think I'm a treasure waiting to be found, so you should too. Believe in
Yeah,
yourself.
I think it's a really nice sentiment to have. Especially, I keep on lingering on the I lose one because I think
Yeah.
that's really relevant to right now
Uh-huh.
because there is a romantic and sometimes there's a romantic in some of us that's larger than
Yeah.
others, but right now it's so difficult to meet other people. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I feel like we're in a similar boat, when you haven't had that many experiences and then the world shuts down and you're not able to
It's like great.
progress. Yeah, I feel I hear some of that in what you're saying of trying to sort through that
Because it's
struggle, I
like you
guess.
see everyone else doing so quote unquote well, meeting people. Everyone hates it, but you're like, well, at least they're meeting people, you know. Um, and so I just wondered, like, is there a place for me in any of this? But you can't forget, like, you set your standards for a reason. You don't have to explain them to anyone else. If it's not for you, it's not for you, you know. But also, don't be afraid to try. Just because the romantic died in the end doesn't mean it's really dead. You know, you didn't really lose a huge part of yourself just by trying to meet someone. You know, at least now you know.
Yeah, and it's that balance right now of um, what I'm hearing, the process, and in the context of the world. It's that balance of like, no, I don't need to, compromise. I don't, I can just be who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And also realize that messing up is also a part of life. So don't be afraid to take risks, but also don't be stupid risky because of the pandemic. Also, so it's like just this balance of these three things living at the same time.
I can say I didn't have fun, but I learned a lot about myself in doing it. And so I'm glad I did. I don't regret it.
Cool. Well, I also have a related question about the inspiration. You've talked a lot about hinting at ways that you go about your process and things like that. And I was wondering if there are certain musicians that you look to when you're going through that music development process.
Absolutely. Okay, I have my list of 5 that I love. Okay, and that's Arca, FKA Twigs, Caroline Polachek, Grimes, and Sophie. Yeah, those are the art angels that I turn to for wisdom. Yeah,
Yes.
I always think about like, oh, how would they do this? I don't know if I sound remotely like them, but I would love to be compared to them someday. That's my goal.
That's actually, I'm not going to say that I listen to music, and I'm not going to be like, you're as good as Sophie, because Sophie.
Because you're not.
Sophie, no, it's just, that's like saying you're like Zeus.
Yeah.
But I will say I was making a playlist, because I usually, in these interviews, I make a playlist after I listen to an album of just kind of like, not what they have said inspires them. It's just kind of my own interpretations of things. And I had this collaboration. I think it's Sophie and FKA Twigs together did a song. And I have that one on there because I feel like I got a lot of specifically vibes from Destroy.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what inspired me to do it, because Sophie uses all of those like just harsh industrial sounds in her music. And yeah, that is the one that heavily informed Destroy.
Yeah, and it reads. I definitely, when I'm getting that,
Mhm.
I'm not like, I'm not saying I'm like, this is a ripoff or anything, but I
No,
definitely get the
no.
inspiration as I'm listening to that.
The
Like a
thing is,
game.
like when I'm doing it, I'm thinking more about not like, oh, what exists that this could go to. It's like, oh, what could I create from this? You know, like
Mm.
instead of it being in a movie, it's like, is this a movie? Wait, could I make a movie out of this? You
Yeah.
know, so I think of these as like operatic performances. You know, I'm thinking about the stage, the costumes, the set design. Yeah, it's like pop music mixed with an operatic mind.
That's really interesting because it seems like rather than having these, no, but I get that because sometimes with songs, I feel like maybe it's just because I'm not from the creating end, but I picture them in something as like a part of a whole. But I feel like the way that you're describing them is kind of the album as
Yeah.
kind of the encompassing factor. Like it is the whole.
Yeah, that's why I refer to it as like act one, act two. That's like
Mm-hmm.
there would be an intermission in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You mentioned the new song, and I guess this kind of leads into that about would you I know that you're still creating new music.
Mm-hmm.
And do you imagine like pushing this album further and doing something else with it, like the way that you're talking about turning it into something that would have an act one and an act two? Or are you pushing more towards creating other songs and maybe another album and stuff like that?
I definitely want to create another album. With it, I've always dreamed of choreographing like this large scale production, and then I would be composing the music, quote unquote. You know, I'm not directing an orchestra, but but I am creating the soundtrack. So yes, there are big dreams for my music.
maybe before, I think an important thing to touch on before we close out is letting you have a platform to talk about the new single, or any new things that you like want people to talk like that you want people to know about, and let us know however much you want to reveal. I don't want to force you to talk about anything.
All right. Well, I guess I did just release a single called "It Wasn't For Me," and I can say it is quite different from a lot of the stuff that's on the album that I released, because the album was a lot of let's see what I can do with sound, and now I'm focusing more on making music that is more singable, more danceable. Now I'm thinking a lot more about having an audience in front of me and performing, and having them possibly sing along or dance along. So this new era of music is more pop like. At least that's what I predict. Because of what I'm working on now, I'm still making music. Hopefully I get another album out there soon. Looking at performing someday. I'd love to head to a concert. As soon as I organize that, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be presumptuous, but I'm glad that you I'm glad that you brought up the vocals part of it all, because I was going to ask about that, because I listened to the single you sent, and I noticed not only more vocals, but I feel like there was a certain comfortability that grew with the vocals, and I was wondering if that just came from either making the album, or if you've like practiced, or if this is just like a passion project.
Part of that is due to the fact that I got an actual microphone very recently.
That would do it.
All of the vocals on Pearls Are the Last Things Found were conducted through Apple earbuds.
Not sponsored.
So now that I have a real microphone, I'm much more confident in my singing capabilities.
That would make sense. But I feel like there's also, is there any like, maybe if the confidence isn't linked exactly to the album process, if there's anything you've learned about yourself or how you sing through the process of an album?
Now I think there are okay, so first of all, I think there are things that were left unsaid on the first album, and I would just like to tell more stories verbally now. And then what I learned about my singing, I learned I can sure try, can't I? I'm not a natural born singer, I don't think. And so I learned that that's okay. Yeah. As long as you just try and you tell your story, who cares?
That is really interesting, because I was thinking about all the artists that I really like, and I will openly admit that some of them are not good, but it's like there's something about the passion and like a certain truth that comes out, almost even more so when you're not naturally gifted at singing, because you really, like you're saying, just want to get out something, get out a truth, get out a story. And
you shouldn't be discouraged,
yeah,
there's a lot of editing out there, baby.
Is that something that you've messed around too? Like, do you think that the vocals on the newest album or on the next album will be heavily edited, or you think that you're going to leave them a little more natural? Or
I will I think I'll try to do my best to sing naturally, but again, like a lot of the music I listen to, the vocals are heavily edited, and I just think that is aesthetically pleasing. So I think my music might just stick with that. We'll see. Like it's so interesting. There's so much you can do,
Yeah. And you don't have to stick to these limitations of just what you can do.
Exactly.
Yourself. Yeah. Do you think that music kind of helps you not only like process what you're feeling, but also help you sort through how you're feeling about those relationships as well?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most cathartic exercises I have is to make music, because I could be feeling totally down in the dumps. And then once I just get it all out into a song, then I can relax and I can go back and listen to it and see how I was feeling and learn from that. I used to say, like, with the music that I listen to, sometimes I let it do the talking for me, or let it do the thinking for me. I'll just let my mind wander and I'll listen to what the artist is saying. And the same thing can be said for the music I make. Like, I'll be singing lyrics and I won't know what they mean. And it's so strange because, like, I have the words and I'm like, oh, these are perfect, but I have no idea what this means. And then months later, I'll be like, oh, that's what I was saying to myself, to my future self, or it was my subconscious talking, and they're just so honest, and I didn't know that they were telling those truths. Once again, hello. My name is Mateo Herrera, but my artist name is Museio. It's Museo. I'm available on all platforms, so just look for me. And I really appreciate you guys listening to this and listening to my music. So thank you.
You had just listened to an interview with Museio here on WRCT Pittsburgh. As this interview was conducted last month, and in light of recent events, we wanted to address that we are deeply saddened by Sophie's passing. She was an idol who will be deeply missed. Earlier in the show, you had heard Museio's songs I Lose, Isthmus, and The Destroy. And up next, we have the premiere of Museio's new song, In the Sun. You just heard the premiere of Museo's new song, In the Sun, here on Toontown on WRCT Pittsburgh. And that concludes the Museo-themed hour of the show. And to round out the last couple of minutes, we'll be hearing some new bin cuts, as well as a couple PSAs. The 3 new bin cuts you'll hear are Blown Pupils by the Marijuana Death Squads, When in Summer I Forget About the Winter by Yeji, and Urge You by Frankie and the Witch Fingers. That will conclude the end of the hour, so thank you for tuning in to Toontown with me, DJ O'Boy, here on WRCT. Right now, millions of kids up to age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance through Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. Your child could be one of them. In fact, children in a family of 4 earning $48,600 a year or more may qualify. Regular checkups, immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services, prescriptions, and more are covered. It's a helpful hand for parents with their hands full. For more information or to enroll today, go to healthcare.gov. That's healthcare.gov.
When it's summer, I forget about the winter. When I'm happy, I forget about the blue. When I'm in love, I forget that I was lonely. When I realize I'm a bit forgetful. When it's summer, I forget about the winter. When I'm happy, I forget about the blue. When I'm in love, I forget that I was lonely. When I realize I'm a bit forgetful. When it's summer, I forget about the winter. When I'm happy, I forget about the blue. When I'm in love, I forget that I was lonely. When I realize I'm a bit forgetful. 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 I'm a bit forgetful.
Westmoreland Cleanways and Recycling, located 40 minutes east of Pittsburgh in Greensburg, has received a $46,500 grant to expand its facility to process any and all types of foam, marked number 6. Clean plates, bowls, clamshells, egg cartons, trays, and block-protected packaging foam commonly found with electronics and furniture. The grant is made possible through the Foam Recycling Coalition. Bring foam to the WCR Drop-Off Center at 355 Pleasant Unity Mutual Road, Greensburg, PA. For more information, call 724-879-4020 or visit www.westmorelandcleanways.org.